Hey there, I'm Nathan, and today we'll be counting down the top 10 crowdfunded games. Now just to be totally clear, the game has to actually be out in order to make it onto the list. Without further ado, let's get into it. In Superhot, time only moves when you move, a very clever mechanic that allows for some creative scenarios and really turns the FPS genre onto its head. The team decided to go with a low-poly minimalist art style, which certainly gives the game a distinctive look. The game was actually originally created for a 7-day game jam. It wasn't until a year later that they launched a Kickstarter campaign which raised over $200,000. It's also worth noting that Gears of War lead designer Cliff Bleszinski designed a level for the game as part of a Kickstarter perk. Superhot certainly provides a memorable experience, and for that it takes the 10th spot on our list. Slightly Mad Studios took a creative approach with their method of funding, as they decided not to use a website like Kickstarter. They actually funded it on their own website. This ended up netting them a whopping $5 million. The end result is a very polished, realistic racing simulator that is also VR compatible. But trust me, if you get motion sick easily, you may want to hold off on this one for a bit. Now with a sequel in the works, I'm really looking forward to what the studio will be able to put together as they continue to establish themselves in the driving simulation market. It lands the 9th spot on our list. Have you ever wanted to explore the vastness of space? Well, now you can, but be sure to pack a lunch because Elite Dangerous does a great job of giving a sense of scale. And by that I mean, it takes forever to get places. But it makes it that much more epic when you finally arrive at your destination and earn yourself some sweet credits. It has you traveling across the galaxy with other players, engaging in space battles and trading resources on a galactic market. I should also note that the game has improved dramatically since launching in 2014. With their Kickstarter campaign, they were able to raise over $1.6 million. And while it may not be the most revolutionary space game, at least they delivered on their promises. No Man's Sky. Sorry, there's something in my throat there. Earning it our 8th spot on the list. Developed by Obsidian, the team that made Fallout New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity is a spiritual successor to the cult classic Baldur's Gate. It's an isometric game that implements a pause mechanic for tactics in addition to real-time battle. Its Kickstarter campaign raised them over $4 million. Personally, this style of game feels a little dated for me, but fans of old-school PC-style games seem to love Pillars of Eternity. And for that, it nabs our 7th spot on the list. An homage to 8 and 16-bit games, Hyper Light Drifter has a nostalgic feel, all while having a beautiful, modern 2D pixel art aesthetic. Initially intended to be a combination of A Link to the Past and Diablo, it ended up raising over $600,000. It proudly displays its inspiration from The Legend of Zelda with regards to exploration, and has been referred by some gamers as a Souls-like game for its challenging approach to combat, landing it our 6th spot on the list. Developed by former members of BioWare, the Banner Saga falls in the tactical role-playing genre. Its Kickstarter campaign netted them over $700,000, and the game is outright gorgeous, taking an art style that's reminiscent of 80s animated television. The game is intended to be part 1 of a trilogy, and with part 2 launching earlier this year, they're well on their way to making that a reality. With engaging story and interesting combat, the Banner Saga lands our 5th spot on the list. Partially inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, Darkest Dungeon is a turn-based roguelike that delivers on brutal difficulty. Its Kickstarter campaign raised over $300,000, and it takes a really fresh approach on the dungeon crawler. The game dives into the psychological toll that one has to pay to enjoy the plunder of such a lifestyle. It also ups the ante by implementing permadeath. I also need to give a shout out to the amazing job that Wayne June does narrating the game, landing it the 4th spot on our list. Double Fine Adventure, which later became Broken Age, broke the record for the most funded Kickstarter game back in 2012. And it didn't just break the record, it shattered it. With under $400,000 being the previous record, Double Fine Adventure raised over $3 million. This was due in part to having a big name in the industry behind it. The big kahuna himself, Tim Schafer, creator of adventure game classics like Grim Fandango and Monkey Island. They presented the project as a return to point-and-click adventure games and certainly delivered on that promise. Boasting voice acting from stars like Elijah Wood and Jack Black, the game is wonderfully acted. It has a great sense of humor and presents some clever puzzles that balance the fine line between challenging and fair, granting it our 3rd spot on the list. Have you ever played a Mega Man game when you were younger? If you answered yes, you'd remember the epic bosses and awesome platforming, both of which shine in Shovel Knight. Hell, even if you haven't played Mega Man, you should still play Shovel Knight. Raising over $300,000, it's a fantastic return to the 2D platformers of yesteryear and has an awesome retro chiptune soundtrack. The gameplay is tight and the enemy designs are on point. They also implemented a clever risk-reward mechanic where destroying checkpoints will give you more gold, but dying will reset you back to the beginning of the level. I can't say enough good things about this game, and it easily makes my personal top 10 games of all time, netting it our second spot on the list. Raising only $50,000 makes it our smallest budget on the list. Undertale offers something truly fresh while still invoking feelings of nostalgia, particularly for fans of Earthbound. It has everything from a great sense of humor to a killer soundtrack. It also ties the bullet hell genre cleverly into its combat. Where the game really shines is just how meta things can get, like super meta. It's a prime example of how clever game design and witty writing come together to form a truly special experience, landing at the #1 spot on our list. And there it is, my top 10 list of crowdfunded games. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing for more top 10s.